Hello, welcome back to Mark's house and garden. And as you can probably see, I'm not in my garden because I'm in central Manchester and I'm visiting a National Trust garden which has been built on a disused railway line right up there above my head. So, welcome to my walking tour of the Castlefield Viaduct, and support the National Trust, and don't forget, this attraction is completely free of charge. So as I wander around this amazing space, I will share with you some thoughts and some reflections and also some caveats. There are some things you need to know about this garden if you intend to visit, and I would highly recommend a visit here. I found it a very powerful place, and the first thing I would say about this garden is that it is incredibly easy to get to on public transport, and when you're there, it's incredibly easy to find. So don't be put off by the fact that it's right in the centre of Manchester. Just hop on any tram to Deansgate Castlefield station, and when you get off the tram, you're virtually at the garden. The signs start at the end of the platform. It's a short hop across a car park, which is level walking, so it's very accessible, and you're at the entrance to the garden, where you'll find accessible toilets and umbrellas to share if it's raining. There are some wheelchairs, and there's also a place to park your bike if you've come on your bike. Now they do tours here, so there are some seats there if you're in one of the tours, and check the times for those because they're not all day every day. The garden is not open all hours because in the evenings they do exhibitions and conferences here. So again, do check the times on the website. I'll put the link to the website below this video. Now you start off on the journey on an area which is not very well kept, and I think this is a reminder to how it used to be before it was taken on by the National Trust. And then you reach a point where it starts to become more tended to and more manicured, and that's where you'll find lots of different examples of gardens. A point to note is the fact that there is this great big mirror when you enter the garden, and I think they want you to be mindful and reflect, and I always think that's a really good idea. And one of the things I reflected on when I was here was the amount of history. Now I will use the word space and place and garden interchangeably in this video because it's not just a garden. This space, this place, this garden is more than just a garden. It's about history, it's about industrial heritage, it's about decay and regeneration. It's about new life being brought to an old situation. Don't forget that this viaduct went to rack and ruin for 50 years before it's been brought into this new part of its life, and what a wonderful part of its life it's enjoying now. Now, whilst I was here, I was very, very mindful of the work that's gone into creating the steel structures around me, and you are enveloped by these steel structures. They're always around you and they're ever present. And I'm always thinking of the people, the men and the women who hammered those rivets to make this incredibly impressive steel structure. Now there's a phrase in gardening called the borrowed landscape, and I would encourage you, if you're in this space, to look beyond the space. You will see the city of Manchester. Now Manchester has ancient history, and right below this viaduct there are some Roman ruins, and I would say to you, go and see them while you're here. You might as well kill two birds with one stone. Again, it's free. What have you got to lose? Look beyond the perimeter of the viaduct to the borrowed landscape and just be aware of the noises and the sounds of the city. It's right next to train lines and tram lines which are being used, so you get that clunking of steel against steel. But all the time that's there in the background, there is new life in the garden, and you will see an assortment of different garden themes as you walk through the space. I was particularly taken by the wildlife garden. I'm very into my wildlife gardening, as you probably know if you follow my channel. But so much innovation, so much education, and so much community here. So many people volunteer and bring their skills for free to this space. And you've really got to appreciate that and understand it and feel it as you're walking through. Now, one of the caveats I would give you is, it depends what you're expecting. Now, I've been to the High Line in New York City. I'm very fortunate to have visited New York and visited that garden, which is on a similar theme to this. It's a disused railway line. So, manage your expectations. If you've been there, don't expect this to be like that, because it's a much smaller scale. And I think there is scope for them to expand it, because there is still less parts of this viaduct which are left undeveloped, and they are seeking funding for that. But manage your expectations. This is a much smaller attraction. You can probably do this in an hour and then go about your business. You could fit this attraction in between business meetings. The other caveat is, unlike many National Trust properties that you visit, there is no cafe or tea room here. But my opinion is, it doesn't really need one, because this city is absolutely full of cafes and bars and pubs. So refreshments are 20 metres away at any point in time. So don't be hung up on the fact that there isn't a cafe here. And what I do like about this is, when you reach the end of this garden, there is a visitor centre where you can speak to people who volunteer and who staff the place and will tell you about its history. What the National Trust do really well, I think, is they educate you as you experience. So it's not overload, but at strategic points along the path, there are little bits of history dropped in, just little mouthfuls, bite-sized chunks that you can enjoy, and they inform the past. It's really quite wonderful. And there's a weather station as well, which kind of suggests that there are some scientific things going on here, which is wonderful. And there was, whilst I was visiting, some kind of soundscape thing where you were encouraged to sit and meditate and be mindful. I really am into this idea of being mindful of your surroundings, but not just your surroundings now, but the history and the future. This place speaks of its history, but most gardens nowadays are informed enough to speak of the future and climates and climate change and all the challenges that we have when we try and marry our living with the natural environment. And I think that's one of the big things about this place. It's a garden in a city. It's a juxtaposition. It's real hard steel with rust and rivets. And in the middle of that, there are plants and wildlife. So there we go. This is the Castlefield Viaduct, and I would encourage you to come here. You can just be visiting Manchester for another purpose and drop in. It's free of charge. What have you got to lose? Also, go below. Look at the structure from beneath. It's incredible. Visit the canal network. Visit a local pub. I went for a coffee in a pub very nearby and had some pate, which was lovely. It wasn't overly expensive. And then, of course, at the end of the day, you can hop back on a tram or go back to your hotel and retire. This place will leave an impression. It's left an impression on me, and I'm looking forward to going back, and I would encourage you to visit it if you get the opportunity to do so. Now, I've rambled on long enough now, so I will leave you to enjoy some final images of the Castlefield Viaduct, and I'll see you soon back at home for some more garden adventures. Bye for now. you.